So today we're going to be looking at how we experience the breath. So last week we were talking about watching the breath in meditation, weren't we? But how do we actually experience it? How do you experience your breathing? Sorry?
Practice.
Through practice. Yeah, practice will make it easier to experience it, but how do you actually experience it? You feel it. Yes, that's right. We feel our breath. Notice we're not saying look at our breath. We're feeling our breath. So how do you feel it?
In your body.
You feel it in your body.
Sensation.
Yeah, because breathing, right, is a sense of touch in our body. We experience breathing when the air touches our body. So breathing is body. Is like the sensations in our body. But the sensations are slightly different. It's important to understand this. So those sensations that we feel in our breathing, or we feel in our body, how do we feel them? How do they come up for us? Have you thought about it?
Your stomach moving?
Stomach moving, but how do you experience your stomach moving?
Mind in present.
How do you experience the mind if you want to go there? How do you experience the stomach moving? We experience it as movement. Isn't that obvious? Yeah. How we experience our breathing and our body is as what is called elements. Right? Elements. And this is in the realm of elements. So if you want your meditation practice to deepen, you need to understand this is how you're experiencing it. Yeah? So there's a little talk by the Buddha on this, and it just said, just as a skilled butcher or his assistant, having slaughtered a cow, I hope nobody's a vegetarian. They obviously weren't then, even though people say they were. Having slaughtered a cow, were to sit at a crossroads with the carcass divided into portions. So too a meditator reviews this very body in terms of the elements. There are in this body the earth element, the water element, the fire element, the air element, and so they abide contemplating body in body internally, and it goes on and on. Right, so what's it talking about here? It kind of sounds strange. Well, first you're looking at, if you've got a skilled butcher or their apprentice, if they've got a cow and they're slicing it up, they slice it up for the marketplace, and they'll slice it up in such a way you'll no longer see a cow. You'll see chops, and you'll see sausages, and you'll see, New York cut or whatever, and you'll see rissoles and see all this, but you no longer see a cow. In the same way, when we're reviewing our body, if we look at it in terms of the elements, right, you no longer see the perception of your body. You just see the experience of it. So that's what it's pointing at. So when we start to deal with the elements, we start to deal in the really weird world of perception. Right? And perception is very, very interesting and a lot of fun. Actually, there was one lady in the last class that didn't want to do it. She did a little bit. I was like, oh no, I don't want to see that. But it's lots of fun. If you treat it like a game, you'll find it very interesting. This is where meditation gets really interesting. So let's go through the elements. So earth element. Now, don't get caught up in the words. The words are just words. Element is not a thing. It's an experience. So in the same way, last week I mentioned talking about a coffee. If you drink a good cup of coffee or a bad cup of coffee, both of them are different experiences. Regardless, it is impossible to explain to anybody what that experience is. The only way you know is by tasting it. In the same way, the elements are actually, I'm talking about experiences. So until you taste them, it's going to be very easy to start conceptualizing or making an image like it's actually a thing. It's not a thing, it's an experience. But we're using language to explain experiences here in the same way you would use language to describe to me what a cup of coffee tastes like. But the language is not the taste of the cup of coffee. Does that make sense so far? Okay, awesome. So we experience it as earth element. Earth element is the experience of hardness to softness. There's a range in there. It's a sliding scale. It's not this or that. Sliding scale of hardness or softness. Can you feel hardness anywhere in your body at the moment? If you look. It's very distinctive, isn't it? Yeah? It's pain, is it?
Sometimes.
Or is it just hardness? Okay, softness. Might be a bit harder, but it's there. Fire element is a range of hot to cold. So can you feel warmness in your body? That's the experience of fire element. Notice if you look closely at it with your mindfulness, it becomes very strong. You can see it really clear. Notice what a good object for meditation it is. Hardness is, fire element is too, the warmth is. Usually right next to warmth there's coolness, believe it or not. If you look, you'll find spots of coolness amongst the warmth. See? Can you feel it? Can you see coolness? It's precision, we've got to be precise. It's there, I guarantee it's there. It's because the warmth is dominant, so your attention's drawn to the warmth. The next one is wind element. Wind element is movement. We actually experience that as contraction and expansion. So tension, which is part of what we call pain, tension, tightness, sharpness, a wind element. It's the movement. Or that expanding feeling. If I feel fear, I've got an upward moving feeling from my stomach, swirling and going upward. That's wind element experience. If I'm nervous, it actually sinks. I've got a sinking feeling. That's also wind element. But notice when wind element sinks down, it's got a heaviness to it. That heaviness is earth element. Yeah, so all the elements are tied in. The last one is water element, which is a range of wet to dry, or stickiness, which is kind of in between. Now the interesting thing about this is our bodies, whether we realise it or not, are always experienced in this way. It's just most of the time we're not aware that our bodies are full of these sensations. But now that your mindfulness is a bit higher, notice that's all you can feel. So we spend so much time in our heads we don't notice it. When we notice it is when the sensations are dominant in a certain way. When the sensations in our body are very pleasant, it's like, oh wow, I've got such a wonderful body. These feelings are so great. Ooh, I want some more of them. Or when it's really unpleasant, we go, oh, I don't want a body, I wish I didn't have a body. But all it is these range of sensations are dominant. Now in reality, the painful sensations are just sensations, and the pleasant sensations are also just sensations. They're just dominant. It's just we are perceiving them as being pleasurable or not pleasurable. Hence why some people find pain pleasurable. And some people have trouble having happiness in their life because they find happiness painful. It's all based on perception. But we won't go in that, that's a different direction. So what happens with our body, we usually, if you're walking down the street and you're having lofty thoughts about how to save the world, if you kick your toe, where does your attention go? Does it stay on the lofty thoughts? The sensations, the elemental feel in your body is more dominant, and your attention draws to that, doesn't it? And what happens when you kick your toe? You feel aching, sharpness, tension, throbbing. It's just these different elements and elemental quality or taste. Now, a normal relationship with our body is one of identification through sight. Here we go into the strange world of perception. We live most of our world through sight and in our heads. So what's a relationship we have with our body? Well, let's see, here's a relationship I might have with my body. I'm tall. I'm short. I'm fat. I'm thin. I'm heavy. I'm light. I'm ugly. I'm handsome or beautiful. I'm well dressed. I'm not well dressed. Yeah? I'm black. I'm white. I'm a Buddhist. I'm a Muslim. I'm a Christian. These are all relationships we have. But they're all relationships that are based on this sight. Quite often we see people and we go, oh, there's a Buddhist monk. There's a Christian nun. We identify by this sight thing. But what I'd like you to do right now is just close your eyes. Firstly, you're not going to do it. One lady in the last class wouldn't do it. First one, this is the one that freaked her out. Close your eyes. It's not going to hurt you. We're just playing games here. Okay, so you can't use your eyes anymore. Okay, first one. Can you actually experience whether you're male or female? Not think about it. Can you experience female or male anyway? Or is it an idea you have in your head that's based on sight? Now, can you experience whether you are black, whether your skin is black or white or yellow or whatever other colour you want to give it with your eyes closed? Can you find it? Or do you just feel sensations? Can you experience whether you are fat or thin? Whether you are tall or short? Can you experience whether you're well dressed or not? What can you actually experience when you take away sight? What is your reality? Are you gay or straight? Are you pretty or ugly? Okay, you can open your eyes now. Welcome to the strange world of perception. Notice that all the things that all the relationships that we have with ourselves and the relationships that we have with others, or most of them, and most of the problems we have in the world are based on one sense door, sight. Take that away and none of it actually exists. None of it. It doesn't exist. How mad is that? Is that crazy? People are killing themselves at the moment because they've got different skin colour, or they perceive that they're different religions, or they perceive whatever. People are paid less in this country because of the perception of male female. You close your eyes, it doesn't exist. You can't experience it. It's just an idea in our head. This is the weird world that meditation takes you into. So we're not denying that this stuff exists. On the conceptual level, it does, on the interaction level. But when it comes down to it, as a human being, what can you actually experience? What can you say, this I know is real? So when the Buddha's talking about mindfulness meditation, it's like, what is actually real? So suddenly you start dealing with things like fear or anxiety or stress or whatever. Again, are they just things that we've actually built up in our mind that they actually exist. If we look at it, the way it manifests in our body is this. And I hope this analogy works. I've tried this one a number of times. People say they understand. In computers, from what I understand, a hard drive has ones and zeros, right? So the way the ones and zeros are ordered, right, tells the computer how to read what comes up on your screen, whether there's a picture and all that. There's all ones and zeros. So if you have 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, and then you change the 1 to a different place, it means a different thing. Just think of it like a code, heaps of ones and zeros. If you look at our body is always full of sensations. And since you're mindful, you'll feel them very strong now. It becomes very obvious. You'll probably feel hotter than you normally feel, or colder than you normally feel, things like that. It's not that you are, it's just that you're more aware of how your body feels. Generally, these sensations aren't very clear unless you look at them. So we think, I feel healthy when I can't feel my body, don't we? I'm healthy when I can't feel my body. But that's generally, we're not very mindful too, so we don't feel it. So if the sensations are low, we don't feel it. So what happens when we feel pain? Well, basically some of the sensations suddenly become more dominant in one part. They're there all the time, sensations are there all the time. The hardness becomes more dominant, the sharpness becomes more dominant. You know, these different elements become more dominant. We see it. It's almost like the ones and zeros have been rearranged and suddenly it's up. Then it collapses. What if I feel anxiety? Suddenly the sensations around this area feel more dominant. If I feel fear, sensations around this area feel more dominant. If I feel love, the whole of my body, the sensations start to tingle and feel different again. My body starts to feel light with air element. Yeah? When I'm sad, constriction and tightness around here, the sensations around this area. So if you look, you've got all these sensations all the time, but whatever order that certain ones become dominant, we identify that as being something. Can you see how that works? It's not like the computer, but you can see what I mean. They're always there, but certain things. So when we experience a certain combination, you go, oh, I'm stressed. Oh, I'm anxious. Oh, I'm sad. Oh, I really want that. When they're in a certain order. So this is this world that we're going into. So when we're looking at the elements in the breathing, you'll start to notice this changing world. And this changing world means something. So the more you start to see these patterns through mindfulness, the more you start to understand what's actually going on. And so you don't fall for it. Because you just see, I've always got sensations, oh, these ones are dominant today. Oh, these ones here. Oh, those ones over there. And what does it mean? Nothing. And this is where you start to become desensitized rather than, oh no, my body's got sensations in it. Oh no, my world's falling apart. Yeah? You start to see just sensations as just sensations. But this needs to be trained. Then suddenly feelings in the body, this pleasant, unpleasant, sharpness, hardness, tension, movement, vibration, heat, cold, whatever, don't affect you anymore. And that's why the content face, not affected. The body's changing, right? But there's no suffering attached to that. There's no reaction attached to that at all, because it doesn't matter. It's changing all the time, just like the weather's changing. Yeah. Did that kind of make sense? I tried to make it as clear as I could. This is a strange world we're getting into here, isn't it? Was anyone freaked out? No one? Oh. I didn't do my job right then, sorry?
It's complicated.
It seems complicated, yeah. It seems complicated. Yeah, I know. Just be patient with me. We are talking about a human being and an experience of a human being. Remember, what I'm talking about is experience. I'm not talking about a thing. So when you experience it, you suddenly go, oh, I understand. When you haven't experienced it, then it's like, oh, try to think about it and it doesn't make sense. Yeah, it's kind of like that. What we're best off doing is we're best off doing a bit of meditation, and we'll take a look at the elements and you'll see what I mean. It'll start to make sense to you. Want to do that? Sounds good? Does anyone need a stretch? Want to stand up, stretch your legs? No? All quite comfortable? Okay. Okay, so how we're doing this is how you'll use it in a meditation practice. So just close your eyes over lightly. Just relax your jaw, place your tongue behind your two top teeth. Now take a deep breath in, and breathing out, allow yourself to relax. Now gently bring your awareness in the feeling of your body sitting on the chair or the floor. Be aware of all the sensations within your body. Now we're just going to experience some of the elements in the body. See if you can feel the feeling of hardness anywhere. And if you find it, look closely at it and just gently say hard, hard. And now allow yourself to relax into that hardness. Now see if you can find warmth in your body. Where can you find warmth? If you can feel it, look closely at it and just gently say warm, warm. What does warmth feel like? Is it still? Does it move and change? Now allow yourself to relax into that warmth. Drop any resistance to it. Now I'd like you to see if you can find coolness in your body. Where can you experience coolness? If you can find it, look closely at it and just say cool, cool. What does coolness feel like? Now I'd like you to relax and start to be aware of your breath as it comes in and as it goes out. Notice when your breath comes in through the tip of your nose, there's a feeling of coolness there. When you experience it at the tip of your nose, just say cool, cool. Now after you experience the coolness, follow the breath deeply through the chest into the abdomen and notice as the breath comes in, after you feel coolness, you can feel movement like a rising, expanding feeling. Be aware of the coolness, then of the movement, the rising feeling, and say rising, rising with that movement. Now notice after the rising feeling, you can feel your abdomen contract or your chest drop. It's like a falling feeling. So on the in-breath, say rising, rising, and feel that movement. On the out-breath, falling, falling, and feel that movement. Now notice when you breathe in, the breath is cool, but when you breathe out, it's different. It might be warm. Notice the change in each breath. How the feeling of the breath changes. Be aware of the coolness, then the movement, and then the warmth. Allow yourself to relax into it. Allowing each breath to sink you deeper and deeper into those feelings. Be aware of any tightness in your breathing and allow that too to relax. Now widen your awareness into the whole of your body. Bring aware of all the different elements in your body. And notice from here you can still observe the breathing as it comes in and as it goes out. As if you're watching the breathing from a distance. Now start to be aware of the feeling of your body sitting on the chair or on the floor. Just relax into the feeling of your body. Widen your awareness, your attention to be aware of any sounds around you. And when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes, be aware of seeing, be aware of being in the room. That is a more advanced technique, but it's important that I point it out to you so you know when you're developing the breath meditation there's another level to go to. You notice when you're normally watching the breath in meditation, it doesn't really have any characteristics to it, does it? It's just like, oh, I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out. But notice if you purposely turn your attention towards how you're actually experiencing the breathing, how clear are the sensations? Anyone find they're really clear? How clear is that coolness when you first breathe in? It's not hard to see at all, is it? It's really really easy to see, really easy to hold your attention on. But does it disappear? No? Are you sure? It does. Why? Because you notice it only occurs during the in-breath. Look closely, and if you didn't see it, that's okay, because this is just a skill. Look closely. Did the out-breath feel different to the in-breath? Yeah? Can you see? Very distinctly different. So what you do is you do meditation, mindfulness meditation, intelligently. That means what's going on? Hold that question mark. When you see difference, purposely try to see as clearly as you can the difference between the two experiences, the difference between the in-breath and the out-breath. What that will do is it will start to enrapture the mind, which means that it will become really interesting. It will become really interesting. Now, a lot of times our concentration doesn't grow. Why do you think it doesn't grow?
Nothing to concentrate on.
Kind of. We have. It doesn't grow because we have no interest in the object we're using for meditation. Interest, right, enchants our attention and draws our attention towards something. If I'm interested in collecting spoons as a hobby, because I'm always turning my attention to it and I'm looking closely at these spoons, I'll start to become interested in them. And that interest means my attention is always sitting there. Whatever your hobby is or interest in your life is interesting to you only because you turn your attention towards it all the time. And only because you try to look at it in more detail than what you try to look at anything else. That's why we can find anything interesting, and people collect and have all manners of hobby. It could even be extension cords. Anything, see? So what the meditation practice is teaching us, there's no such thing as boredom. There's only lack of attention. And that if you learn to apply your attention repeatedly to something and put the effort into looking into it in detail, it will become interesting. Anything will become interesting, and any person will also become interesting. When you find someone uninteresting, it's because you're drawing your attention away, even though you say you're listening to them. Can you see? So can you see where it's starting to teach us where freedom lies? You can live a life where everything that you do is interesting. Everything is enchanting and beautiful and worthy of your attention. And this is where this training is teaching you. As weird as it seemed before, can you see where it's teaching you, where it's leading you? Fantastic. Good. Okay.